Today I'm gonna play NCAA Football 14. The last NCAA football game, unfortunately. Don't you miss it? I miss it. And I'm gonna play the good old Idaho Vandals versus Boise State Broncos, because I have a lot of stories to tell. I know most people outside of Idaho don't really care about Boise State versus Idaho, and certainly Boise State doesn't care about it anymore. I've kind of been a Vandal my whole life, so this rivalry always meant something to me. And for a long time, Idaho was the better school. It was the better football team for a long, long time. But then in the last 20 plus years, that's when Boise State has sort of risen to national prominence, is when they started. I don't think Idaho's won since then in that rivalry. But Idaho's now down in the FCS, where they used to be and probably should have stayed. But in the 90s, Boise State and Idaho both moved up to the FBS, which was Division 1 at the time. And Idaho kind of had to keep up with baby brother Boise State, but they just didn't have the facilities, they didn't have the recruiting, they didn't have a lot of things that Boise State was able to get. Because truthfully, Idaho, I don't think they ever actually met the requirement for stadium size. Because you have to have like 30,000 seat minimum, I think, in FBS. And Idaho's stadium, even after they've done a bunch of renovations, I think still only sits like 18,000 or 19,000. I was a Vandal. I went to the University of Idaho. And I went to the U of I because I freaking always hated Boise State. And it was one of those things like, why the heck would I want to go to Boise? Because I could have gone to anywhere I wanted. I could have gone to Boise. But the thought never even crossed my mind. The thought disgusted me. How could I go to Boise State? It's disgusting. Here's a tip, kids. When you're in high school, you can take what's called a PSAT. And what that is it's a pre-SAT. It's like a practice test. But your results are sent to universities and stuff. So I took that PSAT and then afterward got not necessarily offers, but dozens and dozens of schools sent me information after that. You know, come to our school. That was always really satisfying my last couple years of high school, because I would come home from school and there'd just be a stack of mail from, oh my, they're playing like the real Vandals, aren't they? I'd come home from school and have a big stack of all this information from all these colleges. But honestly, I was probably going to always go to Idaho. Because even when I was a little kid, I liked the Vandals. I liked the University of Idaho. Oh, Jesus. I evened these teams, didn't I? Maybe it's the rain. Maybe my players are all weirded out because of the rain. Back in the day, in the 90s, Idaho and Boise State were still in the FCS, in the Big Sky Conference. And back then, Idaho's games would always be on our local TV, but Boise State's usually weren't. So that was, holy crap, that was a horse collar. But that was also kind of why I liked Idaho better. It was just because that was a horse collar. It was because I was able to see Idaho on TV every week, but not Boise. So as a kid, I always liked Idaho better. Oh, crap. God, the kicking is so screwed up in this game. Woo! I think the Boise State guy touched it but didn't pick it up, so now I recovered that. Yeah, get in there! When they had a decent season, they would finish it pretty well, because they went to 3 bowl games and they won all 3 of them. Now they just play Penn State and big schools for blood money and get their crap kicked. I do want to say, though, that even though the The Kibbe Dome up there in Moscow is a small stadium. It's really cool because it's an indoor barrel-shaped dome stadium, but it's awesome. And it's better now than it used to be too, because the walls at the end of the stadium used to be solid, and now they put windows in. So now it has a lot of light and looks really cool. And you're in this big barrel-shaped dome. It's cool. The Kibbe Dome is awesome. You got to respect the Kibbe Dome, fools. I love the fullbacks. Big old fat guy touchdowns. Fat guy touchdown! Boise State sucks. I hate them. Because when I play these games with Andrew, he's always all like, oh, Boise State's the best. Because he lives over there. And I'm just like, oh, I hate them. They make me want to puke. You! Why? Why was the defender just standing there? I didn't want to push a button because I was all like, he's definitely going to jump in front of that and intercept it. Oh, my sweet baby childs. Oh. Man, I saw that defender on the ground there and I was all like, oh yeah, I'm going to run right over him. And I did. Either X, Y, or B. They're all good. Or B. B, 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 B. Yes. This game has been too emotional. X. Good job, X. Get out of bounds. Aw, yeah. Look at this. Look at these Idaho Vandals doing stuff. Nice. Totally realistic outcome. Totally realistic. There was a bathroom in one of the computer labs up at Moscow. That's one of the stalls said that by sitting on this toilet, you are now an honorary graduate of Boise State University. And I was all like, ha ha, that is true. Ah, I ran into my own guy. I went to the University of Idaho so long ago that the dorm that I lived in isn't even there anymore. They tore it down and built new stuff on it. I liked that place though, because it was sort of, there was a big main building where most people that lived on campus lived, and then there were these other older buildings, and I lived in one of the older ones, and it was kind of nice. Except, if my friends were all doing stuff, they were, a quarter of a mile away, and didn't always tell me they were doing stuff. Because back then, nobody had cell phones. We had ICQ. I only needed 4 yards and you let me get 10 on 4th down. What a crappy defense Boise has. Man, they suck. That's a touchdown. The University of Idaho might not be as good of a sport school as Boise State has become, but the University of Idaho is a better university. And Idaho has done world-recognized research and things. Boise State's only really contributed football and a stupid blue field. I'm not bitter, you're bitter. I'm just saying that if you want to actually go to school, you should probably go to Idaho. And not Boise. Here's a fun story while I was up there. I had a friend who, he was not a very good driver. He would drive slow anyway, but plus he had a car that could barely go 40 miles an hour. Because it was an old Subaru something. It was really old though. And it only had a dinky 4-cylinder engine and it sucked. But between Moscow, Idaho and Pullman, Washington, it's only 8 miles. And he got pulled over up there one time for going too slow between Moscow and Pullman. And the cop thought that he was drunk. And he's all like, No, I'm just drive slow and my car sucks. And that's been a funny story ever since. And also, the first time we went up there, the first semester, freshman year, he left, I don't know how much earlier than my family did in his little dinky car. So he was hours ahead. But there's a huge hill outside of Lewiston, Idaho. You have to climb up a huge hill and you get to kind of a plateau where Moscow is. Well, we caught up to him on Lewiston Hill and passed him. And then he didn't show up in Moscow until like an hour after we did. That was hilarious. Let's see, 1 year after Thanksgiving break, because nobody was there all week, because you get a week off. And they turned the heat off, so everybody's rooms were freezing cold. And then you go back there on like Sunday night to go to school the next day. Well, that year, some frat boy or something threw a freaking huge rock, like snowball rock something, through my friend's window when it was freezing cold. So they taped up their window with cardboard and duct tape that I gave them. That's another tip, kids. Take duct tape to college. Everybody will need to use it, and you'll be a hero. Oh, and also, here's another tip. Make friends with people on your floor, because they might order pizza and offer to give you said free pizza. That happened a lot. Because me and my roommate were nice to everybody, and so they were nice back to us. If you take anything away from this video, just remember that how good a school is doesn't matter how good they are at football. If you actually want to learn things, if you actually want to go have a lot of fun, if you want to go to a really cool community, even though it's a fairly small town, Moscow is awesome and the University of Idaho is awesome. Boise State sucks. This was Eric vs. 365, where I'm playing a different game every day for a year. Be sure to check out psxboxindies.com, where I post daily blogs about the games we're playing and the videos we're making. Thanks for watching.